thank you everyone for joining for today's session on top 3 processes to automate in 2024. So our lovely speakers today, we have JD Nelson, Senior Manager Marketing Operations from Vimeo, Jessica Zanger, Marketing Operation and Director from Bazaar Voice, Laura Marzola, Solutions Engineer Manager at OpenPrice, and hello, I'm Jasmine Chung, Director of Demand Generation and RevOps here at OpenPrice. So we're gonna kick it off today with a quote. So, poor data quality cost the company an estimated $15 million per year, with a record of 70.3% of data decay. That is huge sum of money and with a significant number of data decay, and that is just growing. And I'm sure all of you guys are feeling it as well. So we're going to just dive straight into the questions. And if anybody has any questions while we are bantering and just riffing, please feel free to add it to the chat, and then we will address it as part of our conversations. And we would love for you to be part of our conversation as well. So do not be shy. This is a safe space. We're all family here. So let's get to the first question. So this is a very bold and very kind of a big question that we're going to start off with. So, team, why is data quality still a huge challenge for more companies than not?
I'll start out with that one. I think one of the biggest issues is that it's funny. I ask a lot of people, what does data quality mean to you? And it means something different to a lot of different people. And it could be as simple as things being spelled incorrectly. It could be duplicate data across multiple systems. It could be normalization of data. It could be a ton of things. And I think that's why it's so overwhelming. And number one, how do you fix it first off? They don't even know where to start. So it's interesting. I kept seeing this commercial over Christmas from Salesforce. I don't know if anybody saw it, but it's Matthew McConaughey, their new guru, and it's actually promoting AI. And I think the theme was supposed to be data security, but it stuck with me because he says, if AI is the wild, wild west, is data the new gold? And then at the bottom of the commercial, Salesforce literally says, your data is your data. Your data is not our product. So for me, being in this industry, I'm like, even Salesforce knows they're not in control of your data, and to have correct data, like that's going to affect everything, right? That's in those systems. It's not their job to correct it. And there's so many things that has to do with, right? So I thought it was funny. That's how I took it. I don't think it was the theme at all, but it resonated with me, right? Because a lot of people are in these systems like Salesforce, Marketo, all these different systems. And it's just, even being a user of it in the past, it can kind of be a nightmare. And I think that it's challenging because, again, it's overwhelming and a lot of people just don't even know where to start attacking it.
I agree with that, Laura, especially when it comes to Salesforce. I think people are like, oh, well, we're in 2024 and we've got Matthew McConaughey and AI on our side. But data quality is still not solved with a multi-select pick list or a set of 20 checkboxes that we're, sometimes asking. And sometimes it's hard to reverse engineer why you built those 20 checkboxes, even a year ago, 10 years ago. So I think we're also dealing with a lot of tech debt as well, from how easy all these systems are to use, right? Easy, no code, Salesforce, just out of the box platform. So I think that's still a huge challenge too.
Yeah, and then when people, unfortunately, then some people try to put patches, like they attempt to fix it. There's process builder or some of those
I'll automate it later. Right now, here's a set of checkboxes. Yeah, we don't take the time to understand the requirements a lot of times. I think that's still a huge challenge.
And they leave the company, and then the next person in charge, they're like, I don't even know what. It's like a process they don't even know how it was built, and then they got to unwrap that. So they keep having to unwrap layers and layers.
Exactly. Yep. Move it a fridge. Katie, what do you think?
Well, I think a lot of it too is that it's constantly changing, right? You may have a data set that you like and you clean up and you have, but then something changes. You're focusing on a new product. The year changes. We're all doing new personas now. Suddenly, somebody's interested in a different data set, and so it's hard to keep up with having everything clean all at the same time. You kind of are shifting your priorities around. So I think a lot of people get done and then they turn around and realize that they just started.
Yep, that's 70.3% data decay. So understand that most people don't know where to start. So if someone was to start, where would you recommend them for to kind of start that journey? It is a very big kind of iceberg to break down. So any guidance?
Yeah, I would think like it's obviously I'm all about automating processes, but you have to have a starting point. I think you really need to look at your data holistically and kind of look at your goals for the year too, and take a step backward and decide what about the quality of your data is affecting those long-term goals, right? And if you can pinpoint a few things, take that crawl, walk, run approach, pinpoint those, start there, right? Look for help, right? We want to definitely consolidate tech stack, but we want to make sure that we don't have 20 different pieces going all at one time. So I would definitely take a look at that as well, because kind of what we were talking about before with Jessica, other people could have built stuff in Salesforce, but they also could have purchased tools that you don't even know how to use. So how does it affect your bottom line? And even if it's like just 2 or 3 things that are affecting all those other processes that we face in RevOps, right? From matching to routing to eventually like an attribution at the end. What is hurting it the most? Start there, right? Just focus on something small because you can always add to it.
Yeah, I think focusing on business critical first,
Mhm.
right? If I were to get something over to sales team, what are the top 3 things that they need, right? You need like either a country or a territory or however you're doing lead routing. You want to make sure you have all that stuff locked in so that they're getting the leads. Then zoom out and you're like, what does a marketer need to consider something qualified, right? Whether it's a product signal or a drop down on your form. And then you kind of zoom out from that, and then you can kind of work your way back into the lesser priority.
Awesome. Jessica, did you have any feedback before we move on?
Let's move on. I think some of the feedback I have is related to some of these other topics.
Awesome. And then awesome recommendations on the chat as well from Mitsael. Working backwards methodology, apply from revenue to your sales funnel, as JD mentioned. So love these recommendations coming through chat as well. So keep them coming. So as we were just talking about, data quality really is the foundation that's gonna help all the follow-on processes to work efficiently. So you can see as enrichment, scoring, routing, lead to account matching, all the way to attribution, knowing where your spend is bringing most revenue, the foundation for data quality, getting that all sorted out, having that strong foundation is gonna really set the good groundwork for all the rest of follow-on process to work efficiently. So we're gonna go to the next question. What is the bane of your existence when it comes to data quality? And there's a whole umbrella of category under data quality. So which one would you like to just?
Oh, I want to take this one. That's the first one. I'm really, I love this question. And this is us as all operators. We all love to do roundtables and therapy sessions and cocktails over this question. So the common thing that I've seen is the gap between, we all want access to instant data, right? Regardless. So we get to this utopia state of, we want data quality, but we still want access to instant data. But we know that there's a gap between wanting access to that data and then knowing that the data quality is lacking. So what do we do to fill that gap? What do we do to fill that gap? We put it in those rows and columns that we love to export data in called spreadsheets, right? So then we export into spreadsheets. So then what happens when we export into spreadsheets? It's just a churning sea of static data, right? For your company. So then you have this okay, here's my MQLs, and then that's different from what our MQLs are in our CRM. Maybe I have a pick list that I just don't like, right? Or something that was legacy. So I export it and I manipulate it by myself. So that's one of the banes of my existence is the things that we do as operators and our stakeholders do on sales marketing CS to overcome that gap, is put it in a spreadsheet and we'll deal with it later. So as operators, let's really spend the time and work with our stakeholders to build the success criteria of what our single pane of glass looks like, because that really builds that foundation. So that's a huge bane of my existence, is when I see, oh, I'll just export it out of Salesforce and I'll figure it out from there. Oh, just export it from product, I'll figure it out from there. Oh, just export it from our ERP system, we'll figure it out from there, right? So let's take that time and build that properly, because when it comes to communications with our leadership and our executive staff, you can't say, they don't care why data quality is hard. They just want to see the numbers, right? So the faster that you can get there, the better. And spreadsheets tend to slow that down.
I think a lot of people realize too, especially higher up, how much something they see as little or something they don't understand can affect the bottom line. It's interesting, me, and I know somebody commented too that the approach, the other question we had, could be different from B2C versus B2B. I did a lot of work in sales ops in B2C, working for advertising agencies. And back then, this was, I don't know, 8 years ago, everybody used to just at least on the Salesforce, it's like, oh, we hate Salesforce, right? It's just because the data sucks. And it's funny looking back now, it's not Salesforce necessarily the problem, it's the data, but you don't realize, right? Things are, like, to your point, let's export it and try to figure it out. That's more man hours, right? And then let's put it back in. And then by the time you think that you fix the problem, right? And this is why I go back to automation and processes. Reps have put in 3 more duplicates, or the thing that you thought that you fixed is technically broken again. And so it's like this constant circle of just a mess. And then reps are unhappy because they think that the products you're buying from them aren't working. You're unhappy because you can't get it fixed. And then executives are unhappy, right? Because nothing's accurate. So it really does affect, I think, everything.
JD, do you have any experience about any being of your existence when it comes to data quality? I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of touched on it a little bit, but I would say it's kind of changing priorities mid-quarter or something. A lot of times, we'll define a strategy for the quarter, for the half of the year, for the full year, right? And you'll get all this from the top down, and you'll build a whole process to automate a certain field, and then halfway through, they're like, oh, we want to try this one instead, right? And they kind of change what you were already building towards before. You may built out a bunch of automations to keep all of this stuff up to date, and then the priorities change. So it kind of gets into that, and also just that it never ends, right? And so there's always a something to turn around to, something new. It's not necessarily bad. Usually it's for good reasons. But I think it kind of keeps you a little bit on your toes and on your heels at the same time. Because you'll have to go standardize, clean, come up with best practices for whatever is the hot topic of the time.
Interesting comment in the chat. Changing priorities is a real struggle. Is this the result of a continued fail fast philosophy?
I think it's very unique to your business and how fast you're changing with the times. From my side, there's a lot of change that we've had to accommodate and change to. So I think it is the right way, but when you're doing it, you have to realize that your buying cycle has a certain time to it. You can't make decisions that within 30 days where it takes 45 days to see impact. And so I think keeping with times and changing is important, but I think it can come at the detriment of processes if it takes you either too long to build them or to realize the results before you're on to the next best thing, as it were.
Yep, and I kind of want to hone in on the area on working with our stakeholders. Oftentimes it's hard for them to see really the value from data quality because they're so distant from it, or they don't see the direct correlation to direct revenue from data quality itself. So do you have any recommendations on how to build the best business case for you to work with your executive, your stakeholders, for you to get the buy-in for this project to be and actually be on the top of a priority list of all the initiatives?
One. I think, I mean, in my opinion, it always, for the most part, ties back to revenue and ROI, and sometimes it's difficult, but building that business case, and if you're able to show even like a life cycle, right? Like if you were able to show one example, because, and like Kamala said, like they think deduping is easy, right? But the logic is a nightmare. If you're able to show that 20% of your database, because they were duplicates, because the data was incorrect, and because there wasn't a way easily to merge them all, and because they didn't get matched to a certain rep on time, because the velocity was way slower than you thought, there was missed opportunity and, you know, a potential X amount of revenue that that we lost. I think if you can tie those dots, it's not easy, but once you do, I think they're sold, right? So making sure that you can tie the smallest thing in their head back to like a bigger picture problem. We've seen it work here on our end before, so that's what I would say.
I think too, it's not getting too in the weeds. I think as operators, we tend to want to say everything that goes into deduping, right? Well, we got to look at, you know, which one came first and which value was existing and which one is the merge rate. And people, our stakeholders, they don't care. There's a duplicate problem, right? So you identify the duplicate problem. You say it'll take, you know, X amount of days, weeks, months, depending on what project you're working on. You need to give them a realistic timeline, right? And not just bury them with the extent of all of the work. You may say something's going to take, you know, 2-3 months to accomplish. You need to give them as much justification as you need to get that, but no more, right? Like, don't get into how many jobs it's going to take, how many, you know, man hours or weeks of this. You know, you got to get to a relationship with the stakeholder that you can kind of, you know, justify your top line. Say, you know, like you said, identify, you know, 20% is the issue. We're going to get to a solve by the end of Q1, and that's it, right? And just kind of touch on the high level stuff that is going to go into it, and not get lost in the details, because you tend to burn a lot of interest, I think, going through that.
Yep, that's where you lose them. Bottom line.
Less is more. Okay, so we're gonna go on to the next question. What are some things you know now but wish you knew then around data quality? So some areas that you've, or journey that you've walked through that you wish, wow, I really wish I would have known that now, but you didn't then, but you want to share with the rest of the folks who are embarking on this journey now.
I mean, in the chat, I see the word struggle. I see the word overwhelming. What I wish I knew then that I know now is, I think about that quote, all models are wrong, but some are useful, right? So give yourself a little grace. Don't set yourself on a path to perfection. I've been trying to, you know, do Salesforce as a single source of truth for many, many years now. It ain't happening. Right. So the goal is to get deeper with your data, get deeper, get multidimensional, tell the stories, but it's unrealistic to expect, you know, 100% no duplications, super clean data quality, right? So everybody struggles with these. So just the goal should be to get that single pane of glass in that lexicon to be in line, rather than, you know, again, make a one spreadsheet a single source of truth, your Salesforce a single source of truth. So try not to be on a path to perfection, and just know that a couple of well-maintained processes and again, the cross-functional data lexicon that everybody agrees upon, that'll have the business focusing on the insights and the data stories, rather than fighting over, well, this, you know, your data quality department, you know, the data quality in your department is worse than mine, or which data, you know, sucks the least, we'll use that one, right? So we want to get out of the business of fighting about who has the best data quality, and really get into the stories and insights. So striving for perfection is going to be really, really difficult.
Yeah, I agree. There's nothing, just like all things in life, it's not going to be perfect. Right? Like I always tell everybody on calls, you know, you clean your house, and then help keep it clean. Like, be the Roomba. Is the Roomba it gonna pick up every single last piece of dirt? No. But is it like, if you have some of those key processes in place, right? Is it gonna get the majority of it? Yes. Like, if you could only have, you know, in the future state, like a few items right here and there during the week that like needs your attention, that you need to correct, versus 100, like that's perfect. That's reality.
I like the clean house analogy, but I like to think of it as like you have 5 kids,
Yeah, exactly.
right? Because your data, like you may clean your data, you may get everything, you know, organized, you may do everything, but then, you know, the door opens and, you know, 5 people come running through and you turn around and now you got some muddy footprints and you got some smudges on the windows, and, you know, you have to kind of accommodate that as well. But I think as far as like the thing I wish I knew is like, don't do it alone. Like Jessica, you kind of touched on a little bit, is like you got to get some buy-in. You got to communicate with your stakeholders and the rest of your organization on what you're actually doing, and you know what these timelines are. You know, the worst thing you can do is go and I've done this in the past. We go and we consolidate and we clean a field, the country field, right? One of the most critical fields, you know, in terms of sales relationships. And we've gone and consolidated all to one list, and then we communicated it out, and the sales team uses a different list, right? And the value is slightly different. It's not United States, the United States of America. And you know, you've suddenly done this giant project, and now you're gonna redo it. And it might be easier now the second time around. It's easier to iterate, but you know, the more you can get buy-in from people, alert people that changes you want to make, and the reasons why, and then it'll save you a lot of redo work in the long run.
Yep,
You'll be
nope.
surprised how many country lists there can be.
How many different ways you can spell a country.
I really like it's a simple thing, JD, but people forget about that, is we don't have to do it alone. Again, I think as operators, we want really just want to fix everything. I was having a meeting with one of my marketing leaders just yesterday, and she said something, guys, write this down. I wrote it down on a Post-it because it's called Clear is Kind. And I was like, perfect. Yes. So clear is kind. And again, when this comes to anything, but especially when it comes to data quality, just be really clear on the things that we're, you know, that work well, the things that work a little less well. So just the communication, not be like, oh, this really sucks. I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm not going to communicate about it until I fix it. Right. Be really clear about that upfront, because clear is kind.
That's true. I mean, JD, your analogy about the kids made me think of one of our clients that when I was first working on their account. One of the things we had to solve for, and it's funny and it's crazy, it is like it's real life, right? They are in the medical field, and their reps, like they work with a lot of office managers who work in doctors' offices, right? And if they didn't know their name, every field, first name would be office, last name would be manager. So they had a problem where and this goes back to, I think Campbell also, or somebody says it's so hard to identify like even duplicates, right? There were duplicates that had correct data, but how do you match up a first and a last name to office manager, right? Like you've got to be able to match up other data points. So it can be nuts, like across the board. Something as crazy as how many ways can you spell a country to just the metadata that people are importing, right? Because they're lazy and they want to get their information in. So totally get it.
Yeah, definitely thinking the long-term approach rather than just trying to patch something like naming everybody office managers.
Yeah.
Okay, so if y'all haven't figured out, the first top processes that we would automate is data quality. But we're going to move on to underneath data quality. Now that we have pristine or good data, what happens after that? So less than 25% of marketers are not reporting how campaigns are impacting revenue. So there are some folks who are running marketing campaigns without really measuring how it's getting over to the revenue side. And this is not a day of grow at any cost or grow at all cost. So definitely being conscious about where our dollars go. So the question is, what are the latest challenges around campaign operation? It's always changing and dynamic.
And I'll
JD and I had a
jump
great
in.
couple great conversations about this. So JD, kick it off.
Yeah. I think so. So what I've been seeing kind of as an interesting trend lately is that people are kind of I don't know if shying away or not going the route of kind of attribution platforms as much these days, and they're opting to try and do it themselves. And there's a lot of power in being able to do that, and there's also a lot of cost savings. Frankly, is I think probably the bigger reason. But what we've seen is that as you start to try and recreate a lot of the processes that are happening, you start to overwhelm some of your systems. And this could be like, specific to like a Marketo instance relying on campaign syncs between, Marketo and Salesforce, for example. And in order to recreate a lot of the stuff that you want to save, you have to rely on Salesforce to run, a process builder, a flow, to do a lot of stamping, to get, data in from one place to the other. And what I've seen personally is that it just breaks, right? Like without warning, it's not reliable. It doesn't scale all that great. And so what I've been seeing in the different communities lately is people trying to figure out the way to recreate that. And I would say even a year ago, it was probably becoming, everyone do a process builder, everyone create this in Salesforce, have it stamp all your things as soon as you create a record. And then quickly blowing up. And now everyone's looking around saying, how can I create kind of a processor to automate the capture of this outside of Marketo, outside of my marketing automation platform, still get it into Salesforce, but not rely on Salesforce to do the actual calculations, and kind of finding those. And there's been some interesting ones, right? I'm building one. I think I've seen some other people building it in different orchestration platforms. I think that's kind of being the trend, is we're kind of taking some of that campaign operations back in-house a little bit. And it's interesting. I enjoy that kind of side of things, so it's fun for me.
Yeah, I agree. I would even say simply, so you can, we talked about this yesterday. We said that a lot of marketers want to tie marketing activity to revenue, but a very small percentage think they can. What was it, like 10% or less than 10%? Kamala was talking about. So we know what we want to do. We just don't know how to do it, right? So I think there's a lot of merit in starting simply, right? And when you start simply, you're a little bit more technology agnostic, right? Think about, again, one of the biggest tactical operational challenges that I tend to see is UTM reporting. Everybody knows that. If you can nail that by two things, standardizing the parameters, again, this is more of a people process challenge over a system challenge, and then setting up the programs, capturing the UTMs, including the ones that are more like a forced UTM if you want, like credit to go to a salesperson. So a salesperson has their own UTM, right, for how many registrants. So traditional UTM parameters, forced or persistent UTM parameters, and then set up your programs to capture those for every campaign member response. I think you're closer to tying marketing activities to revenue than you think, right? Because then you can say, okay, here's my campaign type of demo request. I have 100K in pipeline. And then the breakdown of that 100K is UTM source, organic, PPC, webinar, social. We can do that. Or then we can spin it the other way and say, okay, hey, this, again, we're not even talking about multi-touch at this point. We're just talking about really simple, getting people's wheels turning on storytelling with data, and say, okay, now I have this opportunity to, primary source is demo request where UTM source is LinkedIn. Okay, so of that 100K, and the social, the bookings is 15K a pipeline, or 60% of the social traffic that drives demo requests. So just something simple like getting your UTM house in order can really start to help you tell those stories, because I don't want to do anything with data quality that's not, I'm not prioritizing anything with data quality unless it's directly related to getting better insights for my marketing leaders. Because again, friendly reminder, take care of your portfolio, take care of yourselves, because these top 3 challenges could turn into top 100 really, really quickly. So I like the getting your UTM house in order just is a very powerful first step.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm hearing a lot in the field, both of what you guys talked about. I think JD mentioned it the other day too when we were chatting but just about syncing too, like platforms, like one-to-one, some of the challenges people are having, right? When it comes to marketing and sales. It works on one end, but it's not speaking properly to the other. There's sync issues too. And so right there, that could even affect it affects your lives, right? Because it's a pain in the butt, but the quality of the data too and tracking that. So that's really what we're hearing, especially me, a lot in the field, that people are having issues with. Like they have these grant campaigns. They do have those UTM challenges as well, but then even getting them to tie into and sync with their different systems is a huge challenge. So there's data in one spot, it might not be accurate in the other, things aren't getting triggered in the other. And it's just, right, they don't play nicely together. I always ask some of my prospects, like, do your sales and marketing systems play nicely, or are they not playing nicely? So that's another one I've heard.
Or do you even know?
Yeah, do you even know if they work?
A lot of times you're like, yeah, they're playing great, and then you do an analysis, and turns out not so much.
Exactly. Yeah, you find out after the fact, I'm running, UTM reports and I go, ooh, I thought that was last one, but oh, wait, this process happens first. So I think it's the UTM on the right campaign member, but oh, whoops, there was a wait step on this one. So it's, it's definitely a challenge, the order of operation. So, yeah, I hear you, Laura, the data sync solutions can really help with those challenges.
Yep.
Yeah, and Marketo and Salesforce, they have the out-of-box sync and all the fields that they're mapped to, but there are so many other custom fields. And oftentimes, I believe we just kind of see one side of the story instead of collecting the sales data from Salesforce, SalesLoft, or Outreach, and other engagement data like Gong, Gong, Revenue.io, and all these other systems and other data points that we kind of forget to look at. So taking a holistic approach, really breaking down all the barriers between objects, because we all know that how annoying it is for different objects to cross in Salesforce and all of that to be in Marketo. So working that data, so you have all the proper data holistically, all in Marketo and Salesforce. So we're gonna also pivot for the last time. So the researchers tested about 2,000 US companies using web-generated leads, and this study found that 37% responded within an hour, 16% within 24 hours, 24% took more than 24 hours, and 23% never responded. Imagine you filling out a form because you are actually interested in the solution or any product, or you want to speak to someone and they never respond. And there's 23% of them that never got any response, just cold crickets. And 24% took more than 24 hours. Yeah, we're out of here. Bye. And then that 16%, even within 24 hours. I mean, we all know that study, it takes about like 5-10 minutes. And nowadays with our attention span and just browsing and all of our memory and our brains getting filled up, us remembering what form, what we're interested in that moment, that's going to decay really fast. And really never getting a response is not the look that any company wants to have. So we're going to go next to the question. What makes lead to account matching so challenging? We all know we need it, but it just seems like such a challenging area that a lot of companies still struggle with.
Start with what I've seen, and again, it's going to tie right back into data quality. It's interesting, the slide you just showed, I was thinking like that would be a great report to send up to the executives and then tell them it's because of data quality deduplication and this is where my problem is, like get the buy-in, right? So anyway, going back to like the high level view, because it is so impactful. But think back to like the funny example that I brought up, right? An office manager. So number one, you might already have an account in Salesforce that office manager, whoever that may be, is being worked on. There's an opportunity tied to it. Somebody's working on it. Well, that same person or somebody in the office, that same office, fills out a form, new product that they're interested in. Maybe they're not communicating in the office, whatever that may be. it should go to the person working that account, let's say in this scenario. But because the data is poor, and maybe, some simple routing processes have it built off of, because name is very important, like in this case, and or doctor's office, maybe there's a couple things to match on, it's not gonna match, right? There are limited matching capabilities also when it comes to any of like the CRMs or marketing automation platforms out there, because they weren't built for that, right? They're there to help you. They can maybe say, hey, this might be a duplicate, but they weren't built to automate these processes. And so they fall by the wayside and they never get what they need to be. And then vice versa. If there is no account out there, but the actual data point or the form is missing data, or again, data is inaccurate, how do you, even if there are processes built out, how do you send it to the right person if you don't have where they're located, if you don't have like the company working with, right? Or if something's spelled incorrectly, like poorly, or if something came through the form poorly. So again, the quality of that data is going to affect every step in the process. And number one, lead to account matching, which eventually leads to like routing and any type of account assignment. That's going to be affected, at least from what I've seen, like the most, because you route off of data, right? You send data to a place where it should go off of that initial data. And if that data is not correct, then you're stuck, and it's a problem.
Does anybody remember when Salesforce didn't even have lead to account matching and it was just lean data? That was like their first thing that they did. I don't know if I'm dating myself in the Salesforce world, but I thought that was like the height of genius, because from a relational database perspective, I'm like, why do you have humans in two different spots, right? How do I match this lead to an account? And then lead to account matching became a thing, and now we just can't live without it. But now we're, we're talking about the challenges, and the challenges are, like Laura said, enrichment. It could be an account, but you don't know, because you don't know what country it's in. We don't have the right name standardized, or duplicates. So we are still having issues with lead to account matching, specifically because of data quality. As far as duplicates go, there's, again, there's the crawl, walk, run approach. I've done all and broken a lot of stuff in each of those those areas. For example, has anyone activated those standard duplicate rules in Salesforce and then just broke a whole bunch of stuff because it either blocked my automated conversion, or I like woke up in the morning to all these messages, naughty messages that says, exceeded CPU time limits. And I'm like, so I just created a bigger mess, right? But what I didn't do before that is actually go back to the guardrails you put in place. Like, hey, I'm going to prevent sales profiles from creating accounts. Everybody should have that. I have very few use cases where one would not have that. Accounts always created through ops or through some standardized process, preventing anyone outside of ops from importing lists, right? I've seen the wild west there, even in bigger companies that still allow import. So anything that has a door into the CRM goes through ops or a process, or even a process for reporting dupes to admins and merging. Right. So those are the guardrails that you can put in and then get a little fancier with, activating your duplication rules with caution in Salesforce, or bringing in third parties. But that helps lead to account matching, again, like for the reasons that Laura said too. Less pushback from sales for routing issues. SDRs are like, this lead sucks. I'm spending half my time rerouting because it's not mine. It's actually owned by this other account because it's in a different territory. Reporting attribution. If things are stuck in lead and not tied back to the account, then I have all these juicy hand raisers, all that juicy UTM stuff we were talking about with a 100K pipeline, and sales takes all the credits. Dirty word when it comes to attribution. Don't use that like I did. So then sales gets all the credit, and there's all these leads just hanging out there with hand raising activity within that time frame that we said was an attributable touch. So lots of reasons why lead to account matching is important. We all know this, and it comes back to data quality.
And what if they're already contacts? Another thing too, right? And then the rep's like, why are you touching my stuff?
Right.
Out there that didn't know that it's their stuff. So.
Yep, exactly. Like, hey, this person's already in a sequence, and then you're, emailing their boss, hey, did you hear of my company? It's like, well, yeah, we've been talking to you for, or we're already a customer. That's another one. Lead to account matching. Do you ever say, hey, how about Bizarre Voice? Here's all the things. Like, yeah, I've been a customer for 10 years, dude. Like, why are you doing this? So that's another reason is the messaging and the automated nurtures why lead to account matching can get pretty embarrassing if you don't do it right.
There's a good question in the chat. How do you handle companies with multiple domains? For example, abc.com versus abc.co.uk. Separate accounts, fuzzy matching.
So yeah, so we could do that in multiple ways. One, I would ask first is are they both relevant? Like should the UK be its own UK account? And should abc.com be like the United States, right? Version. Think about that first. If there could be, if they're this one and the same, and we're just looking at matching, a lot of the times is, and this is where like, right, you want to look at software, right? Whether again, us, like, oh, there's so many tools out there outside of like Salesforce or the CR, right? The MAPs that are built the way they are. We will look at fuzzy matching and pull just the root domain out and start that way. So if that's all we have to look at, we don't have to do exact matching anymore. So yeah, you're on the right track. Let's just look at the root domain. If we can get the roots to match, then we can say, okay, we found these two, right? Is all the information the same? Or are the two should the two like be different, because this has all UK address, company information, there's an actual location there, and then make decisions from there depending upon like who might own that territory or not. But I would say at the root of it is finding that root domain, in addition to taking other data points into example. So making sure we're not just looking at one thing. Let's look at domain. Let's look at country if it exists, right? Let's even look at like phone number, because that could be a unique identifier where we can decide, right, if they're truly different or if they're one and the same. So fuzzy matching for sure, and then taking other data points into consideration out of the norm that we're all used to, like email, domain, company name. Like, let's look at what else is on that record, and then try to get even more intricate there in matching.
I think this gets to the root of the question too, though. Like, what makes it so challenging is that everyone will have a different answer to how we go about doing lead to account matching. Some companies, like if your product can support a global account, right, then it doesn't matter where they are. Like you have a round robin situation. Some people have, there's very much justification in having multiple accounts.
Yep.
So then you have to do based on domain, and you have to go down that next level, and just it just splits out from there, right? There's no cookie cutter thing to lead to account. I think it's one of probably the hardest automations, in my opinion, to get done, because you have to start with, do you have a duplicate problem? Do you have duplicate account problems? Do you have both? Like, there's so many things that you have to get in line before you even start to look at what is your sales process, right? The sales team has, very distinct processes for how they reach out to people. And if you start merging things or assigning things to the wrong accounts, it gets messy fast, right? So it's a very hard, it's very hard. First of all, I would say
it is, because it's like a hierarchy, parent-child's question at this point, right? What do we define as a parent-child hierarchy? Do we say it's the Duns hierarchy? Do we say that's our Bible, that's our source of truth for what how the accounts relate to each other? And then you bake that into your lead to account matching, right? If we don't know where it is, then go here. So with the question, 80% of the time I would say two accounts, right? Because there's people that handle us, especially when you're talking about UK versus US. Most of the time there's different reps that handle both of those. So for matching, and then you roll it up to the global parent, right? So almost always I would just suggest two different accounts, but make sure that your account hierarchy is good. Like Bizarre Voice has a unique challenge because we have a house of brands, right? Like Johnson & Johnson and Band-Aid. So there's no list that I can say that says, oh, hey, Band-Aid is associated with Johnson & Johnson. So any touches, if Band-Aid's interested, tell Johnson & Johnson. Hey, Johnson & Johnson is interested, tell people with Band-Aid, right? So that's a unique challenge for us, but it comes back to your hierarchy and your rules of engagement. But I would almost always suggest two accounts for that scenario.
yeah, well, I always ask, like, do you have an intentional dupes? And sometimes they're not necessarily even a dupe, but a lot of times in the process, it does make sense for what you just said.
Mhm.
Okay, with that, we're gonna summarize up. So the three top processes to automate that we just covered is number one, data quality, second one, campaign operation, and number three, lead to account matching. And what I just heard was that this is kind of a cascade from data quality, setting the route foundation for all the data to be prepped, for your account information to be correct as well, for lead to account matching to flow just efficiently, and then for all the campaign operation for the people, process, technology, and the data to just work seamlessly throughout. So if there are any other processes that you guys want to hear or want us to go more in depth, let us know. We could have a part 2 of this session where we actually hone down in the specific areas that you guys are really looking to solve, your niche top initiatives. You know, these sessions are really to help you guys throughout your journey, really for our speakers to share their journey on their learnings. So let us know if you have any processes that you're trying to automate. Reach out to us if you just want to brainstorm, kick some ideas, need help to build some best business cases. Any questions that you have, connect with us on LinkedIn. We're in the community. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you, speakers, so much for the great session. Thank you, Camilla, for running and helping with the chat.
Awesome. And everybody, we do record these, as David said in the chat. So we'll be sending that out in a bit. Thank you, everyone. Have a great